Irving Man. Irving Man. In his lair, Professor Monster is indulging his favorite pastime, trying to find a way to get Spider-Man out of the way.
Spiderman, 抹殺のプログラムを作り上げる。
ガリアとスパイダーマンの全資料のセッティング。はっ。
鉄十字団のモンスター教授はスパイダーマンの能力をコンピューターに記憶させてスパイダーマン抹殺のプログラムを弾き出そうとしていた。
Does anybody else here remember the big tape reels and especially punch cards? In 1974, I took a class in computer programming. They taught us BASIC at first, as usual. We did that by sitting down at an IBM Selectric typewriter that had an endless stream of paper that went through it. You wrote your program on it, typed run, and away it went. Unless it didn't, then you called over to the computer room on the other side of the campus where they announced that they just crashed. That happened to me multiple times. Anyway, after that we graduated to Fortran. Now, Fortran is a language especially for advanced mathematical formulas. I can add, subtract, multiply, and divide in my head all day and twice during daylight saving time. Get beyond that and you have lost me forever. So when the instructor told us to write a program with a formula that did ABC, I had no idea what to do. Nevertheless, I did my best. There was a bank of something like 4 key punch stations along one wall of the computer lab. You sat down at one, pushed a button to get a card in place, and then you typed in a line of your program. Corrections are not a thing. If you made a mistake, you pushed another button to kick that card into the trash and start over. Once you had a stack of cards this big, you took them over to the card reader. Pile them in it, turn it on, and suddenly you got a noise that sounded like a series of loud clunks. It would scan through your pile of cards and then send the result to the line printer. This is my keyboard setup in my music studio. The line printer was about the same size as this whole mess. The line printer would fire up and sound like a series of gunshots that could make you wet yourself a little. Pull the resulting printout off the line printer, and it told you all the mistakes in your cards that you didn't catch. But you couldn't go back to your key punch station to fix it because someone else was already using it. That was not my favorite class. I took the knowledge of BASIC with me and made good use of it many years later, but the only thing my experience with Fortran and punch cards gave me was some comedy material. I suppose that's something. Elsewhere, Takuya has been having a nightmare about Spider-Man being defeated.
絶対に殺してみせる。夢か。
お兄ちゃん、コーヒーができたってさ。
おう、ありがとう。よいしょ。
It's fun to see his relationship with Takuji like this. The boy really looks up to his big brother, and Takuya doesn't take that lightly.
おはよう。
おはよう。今日の新聞は？
あ、はい。
サンキュー。スパイダーマン死亡。6月4日。
The little smatterings of English that pepper these stories make me scratch my head a little. Why did he say thank you instead of saying it in Japanese? Why do his instructions to his spider gadgets happen in English? We've been asking that question all along and no answers are forthcoming. So I could probably stand to direct my energies into something else. The paper gives a funeral time a couple of days from now at a particular church.
美しいご婦人でした。
女の方ですか？告別式を申し込んできたのは。
はい。スパイダーマンの死を心から悔やんでいると。涙ながらに。
何の目的でその女は？
A beautiful woman, eh? Did she look something like this? And do people usually come into your church dressed like that? He can't offer any more information. He didn't get her name, and if she had told him her name was the Amazoness, do you think he would have believed her? Hitomi works at that newspaper, and they don't have a record of who put the notice in. Takuya knows who's behind this, but he can't tell her.
スパイダーマンの恋人かしらね、美しいご婦人って。
さあね。
ひどい。置いてきぼりなんて。
He has places to go and people to find. It's clear the Iron Cross Army is behind this, and he's off to challenge them, even though he has no idea where to find them. He forgot to get Hitomi because he's an absent-minded nincompoop. Later,
しんちゃんボートこぐの上手ね。
まあね。
I hope the stunt people got paid well for that scene. If someone was holding my head underwater and I didn't have my scuba gear, I'm not sure I'd be acting when I started flailing around like that.
はいはい。あ、そう。じゃあ後で。佐久間さん。
はい。事件ですか、編集長。
多摩川に半魚人のような怪物が出たそうよ。
半魚人？
若い男女が殺害されたわ。その怪物の写真欲しいわね。
We know the editor is really the Amazoness in disguise. Hitomi should suspect something about her because she's sending an unarmed young girl to try to get close to a monster that has already killed 2 people. Hitomi doesn't see anything wrong with this picture.
こんばんは。いらっしゃい。拓也さんは？出かけたら鉄砲玉よ。
鳴らし運転だよ、オートバイのね。
残念。ボディーガードにしようと思ってきたのに。じゃあね。
He'll be there and he'll act as her bodyguard. It's just that neither of them knows it yet.
こんな美人を捕まえて怪獣だなんて。
これはどうも失礼しました。失礼しました。
Those two must be why the monster ducked back into the water. It wants to be alone with Hitomi. I agree she's very pretty and personable, but does that thing realize she already has a boyfriend? On the other hand, it may not care if she has a boyfriend. The first time I watched this, I was sitting here saying, "Take the picture, take the picture, take the picture!" But she was frozen in fear and couldn't. Takuya heard her and recognized Hitomi's voice. Spiderman is on the job.
スパイダーマンの目は暗闇でも見える透視能力がある。
気を失ってるだけだ。ひとみさんたちは警官に任せよう。
Since she's on the ground unconscious, maybe this time they won't mistake her for a monster. Though I get the feeling that with those two, anything is possible.
スパイダー探知。逃がさんぞ。
スパイダーブレスレットは超音波を発して探知機の役目も果たすのである。
この建物がアジトか。
It seems like every episode we learn about something else that thing can do. Inside, some things aren't making sense.
あの檻は。あっ。何者だ。 待っていたぞスパイダーマンお前はモンスター巨人
To answer your question, the cage is especially for you.
これは私がコンピューターを駆使して作り上げたスパイダーマンの運命の書つまり抹殺プログラムだ運命の書さよう君は私のプログラム通りここへやってきたのだじゃあボートを襲ったりしたのも全て君をおびき寄せるためのおふざけだよ
He calls taking two people's lives a little silliness. But that doesn't matter right now. His book predicts that Spider-Man is going to fight the merman and lose, so may as well get on with it. Let's have a showdown.
この声この情景どこかで見たことがあるそうだ夢だ夢で見た
But if he lets that paralyze him, he's done for. That thing has a pair of sharp metal blades on its arms, and it's in the mood for some spider sashimi.
このままではやられてしまうあのカッターを利用しよう
That's the thing about nightmares. They don't have to play out the same way in real life. He stumbles home and tells Shinko that he crashed on his bike. She and Hitomi call a doctor at once. In this world, doctors in Japan at least still make house calls. Meanwhile, Professor Monster is realizing something important.
ガリアのやつ予想以上の力を与えよった
You really expected Garia to publicize everything he knew? That means this computer program is incomplete, so the whole thing was a waste of time. He'll keep trying to use his book, which tells me he doesn't know much about using a computer.
タクヤはスパイダー星人の血を受けて普通では考えられない回復能力を持っている
Is the doctor still going to charge them for the visit? While he finishes recovering, Takuya is having another nightmare. I really hope that was a dummy and not one of our stuntmen. But if this dream starts getting accurate like the last one, he could be in trouble. He has the solution.
夢の転落が今日起こるとすればこの部屋から出なければいい今日一日出なければコンピューターが弾き出した俺の運命を変えることができるそうだそうすればよいのだ
As if the Iron Cross Army is going to let him get away with that.
スパイダー感覚に反応
スパイダーマンは超能力のスパイダー感覚で遠くのことを知ることができる
ひとみさんの悲鳴
お兄ちゃんお兄ちゃん具合でも悪いの
シンコひとみさん知らないか
あ、そういえば指は取れたのかな
半魚人を追ってんのかまだ
うんこの前失敗したから今度こそはって
You can bet her editor told her to go try again, which is to say, she's the bait to keep Spider-Man from staying in bed all day.
近寄らないであっち行って
スパイダーマンはどこだ
スパイダーマンを呼んだらどうだ
スパイダーマンを
居場所を知っていよう
知らないわ
嘘をつけいつもお前の身辺に出没するではないか
You may have noticed that. She hasn't. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Nevertheless, they want her to call for Spider-Man. What the hey, it can't hurt, even though she doesn't expect any results. It's not hard to clear those guys out. Hitomi still doesn't have a clue what they think she has in common with Spider-Man. The show does not skimp on the action. This fight will take us through the entire opening theme, plus another full verse and chorus. The whole thing is 2.5 minutes long, one of the longest such sequences I've seen yet. Thank you. And even when the song ends, the fight isn't over.
Spider String!
A little hint, Spidey, those blades can cut spider string. The gas has weakened him to the point where once again his nightmare is becoming real, especially the waterfall part.
奈落の底に転落していく夢はまさに地獄への道だった。死にたくない。父の復讐を、ガリアの復讐を果たすまでは。ガリア、力を貸してくれ。
Last time we saw him, Garia was a spider about this big. I don't think he's going to be able to pull you up.
雲の糸。
But I could be wrong. We still haven't fully explored what Garia can do either.
助かった。奇跡の雲の糸だ。なんだ、スタカズラだったのか。マーベラー!
That vine is better than a spider web, mainly because it's there. Marveler is on its way, but how does Spider-Man get off this waterfall to get to him? Answer: doesn't matter. Just go with it. Now let's have a real showdown. You knew the Machine Bem was going to grow. That circuit is standard equipment in all the Machine Bems Professor Monster buys. He has an exclusive supplier who gives him bulk discounts. What? You didn't really think he comes up with those himself, did you? I think somebody forgot to tell him robots don't breathe. And I think we can assume that when he built this thing, Garia also had the presence of mind to include air filters. The gas is, however, obscuring his vision. That lets him see through the mist like a fluoroscope would let your doctor see inside your body in real time. When I was growing up, my doctor had one, and whenever he used it, when he was done, he'd let me put my hand behind it and see the kind of image it made. It was really cool. Let's wrap this up.
Spider String!
I didn't exactly mean wrap it up literally, but that works. We know what comes next.
Octa! Leopardon! Sword Beaker!
Professor Monster is furious that the story didn't turn out like it did in his book. His computer must be infallible, right? As we all know, a computer is only as infallible as the person who tells it what to do. He needs to get familiar with the Geigo principle. Garbage in, garbage out. In this case, incomplete information in, incomplete answer out.
誰かが救いの手を差し伸べたのではない。悲劇の運命に打ち勝つのはスパイダーマンの逆境にあっても決して諦めない強い意志と勇気だったのだ。負けるな、スパイダーマン。
I'm sure it was his courage and determination that made that vine appear out of nowhere already in his hand. Things like that happen when you're Spider-Man. It's funny. Even though we have the same climax every time, the repetition isn't bothering me. I think knowing how formulaic this show is helps. Takuya is minding his own business. Professor Monster comes up with a creature that causes trouble. Spider-Man faces it by himself and comes in second. Then he faces it with Leopardon and wins. Stuff like that usually either bothers or bores me. Not this time. This is fun. The monsters are ridiculous enough that it's hard to take them seriously, and so are the Birdbeak guys. But when they start fighting with Spider-Man, you forget all that and get caught up in the action. The past 2 episodes, we've watched Leopardon soften up the machine Ben before finishing it off, and I like that. Spider-Man doesn't just defeat those things, he goes the extra step to humiliate them first. He's taking the fact that he's stronger and better than those machines and shoving it in Professor Monster's face. Every time he lands a blow, we find ourselves going, yeah! And when he finishes the monster, we really want to look at the professor and go, pfft. It's just too bad we're all grown-ups. We're way too dignified for that stuff now.
闇深く響く地獄の足